is one of the oldest modern games of strategy. Originating in India, the game of the 600s traveled and morphed during the Persian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and finally on the Silk Road, going from Asia to the Middle East to Africa, and finally landing and being introduced in Europe. It is the version of the game that refashioned during Europe's medieval ages that is more familiar to modern players with names like we've heard before, like pawns, the common people, castles, aka rook, the places that protected people, knights, the defenders of the land, bishops, the defenders of the faith, the queen and the king, the monarchs of the faith, and of the people. Everyone or every piece had its place. The lower level pieces have less ability to move and are the first line of defense and attack. The medium level pieces provide a variety of possibilities based on their range of motion. The queen is the most powerful and versatile piece on the chessboard, and notably the only actual female person on that particular board. But it is the king that they have to defend who has the most limited alongside the pawns. Otherwise, the game is over, as we saw just a moment ago. Chess players have studied the various moves of all of these pieces and players in a variety of different ways, considering how the players and pieces move, what the moves will look like 3 to 10 moves away, and always considering what their opponent might be doing, having 3 to 5 other versions of the game in their head. As my friend Dr. Andy Greenwood, an avid chess player in St. Louis, has pointed out to me, at chess tournaments, this level of strategy is what separates the novice chess player from the expert. A novice is still beginning to get a grip on what their pieces do and where they go, but does not really think about the vision or the long term of the game. While the expert chess player continually considers and reconsiders their plays based on every single move to envision winning the game. Perhaps this is why we have the world fascination with this particular game for such a long time. The idea of vision and strategy is an ongoing struggle for our own mortality. And who we protect and who we sacrifice comes as part of the game. Perhaps it is why when Bobby Fischer played the Russian player in the 1970s, the world was glued to the game that was playing out on the board of the chessboard, that was echoed in a game that was being played out in the world through the Cold War. Perhaps it is why, again, the world tuned in when IBM created a program, Deep Blue, to play the international chess champion Garry Kasparov in the mid-90s, providing to be an adept opponent. Maybe some of you worked on that, I don't know. Humanity versus machine, and initially humanity overpowered the machine until the machine learned alongside the chess master to win the game, which, by the way, Garry is still bitter about to this day. Perhaps it is why when we initially watch the Pixar short Jerry's Game, we think we know what's about to happen. Some guy and his friend are playing chess in the park. Nothing unusual for us to see, nothing out of the ordinary. It is not until the camera pans out a little bit that we realize that that's not what's happening exactly. Jerry is playing a game against Jerry. What is seen and what is unseen? Perhaps we tried to make up our own story as to why Jerry is doing this. We gave him a backstory. We thought, he's that lonely old man who needs a pastime. Chess seems like a good one. He's a man with dementia that has forgotten he's playing and is playing himself. He's that eccentric neighbor that we all know about in the neighborhood, but we don't really talk too much about Jerry. You know who I'm talking about. Or he's just really likes chess and he cannot find a better player than himself. The truth is, Pixar doesn't clue us in on the backstory on this chess player. We're just here with Jerry, not losing heart, watching the game, seen and unseen. And as we are drawn in, we begin to forget that Jerry is playing Jerry. We are drawn into the game for what it is, a game of strategy. One by one, the pieces are captured from pawns to queens with only a king left standing. And in a moment of daring, Jerry with glasses takes a chance and turns the game around, surprising even himself for the grand victory. What is seen and what is unseen? Perhaps we've done this in our own lives. The times when we think we have it all together and then everything falls apart. The times when we are moving 100 miles an hour and then dramatically forced to stop. and time again in these quiet times, it seems like nothing is happening in the outer world. But God sees us as we are, contemplating who and what we are in God's world. And discover the game we may have been playing was the one against ourselves. These past couple of weeks, I had the opportunity, as I said a few moments ago, to journey to the Midwest for continuing education at the Geneva Center in Rochester, Indiana. Nope, it's not Rochester, New York. There's also Rochester, Indiana, and it's much smaller than Rochester, New York. While on my way there, I started to take notice of what was around me. I prayed for those who were behind me. I reflected on where God was in the midst of the journey. It seemed on the outside that nothing was really happening, just a very, very, very long car ride. But on the inside, it was rich with God's Sabbath, known in God's love. One such moment was at a stop at Dunkin' Donuts in Warren, Ohio, across from the Kent State Trumbull campus, where my daughter and I went in so I could get caffeine and she could get chocolate. Both good things. Chocolate, munchkin goodness, right? But there was a very long line because it was morning, and we waited together, chatted, swaying to the music, stayed in the line, waiting. And once at the front, Sophie looked up at the cashier and asked, "Are you okay?" That seemed odd to me, as we had just been talking and she seemed to be doing her job. And Sophie continued, you have a boo-boo on your arm, she said to the cashier. That simple question woke both the cashier and me up from the humdrum of being in a line and being at Dunkin' Donuts. The young woman looked at Sophie and said, "Thanks for noticing. I have tennis elbow. It's been a problem for me. Nobody's asked me about this. Actually, I'm going to probably be changing jobs soon because I keep doing this repetitive motion over and over again. Nobody's asked me about that either. Thanks for asking. I think it'll be okay once I take care of it. Thanks for noticing." From a 4-year-old, who looked and saw what was happening and saw that she was there, and showed both of us that God was in the middle of it all, breaking up the humdrum of a line, seen and unseen, both the cashier, my daughter, and myself. Perhaps you've experienced something similar this summer. Perhaps it's not how you expected it to come to you. Perhaps you were slowed down by health issues or your job status that forced to reevaluate everything and has led you here and now. I will admit, paying attention to God in these times, we may seem unbearable, especially in a world that pushes us to move and work and communicate faster and faster and faster. And God sometimes just says, slow down, hold on, and pay attention. And maybe we aren't paying attention to what God sees in the inside of us. Paul in his letter to the Corinthians notes, though our outer nature is wasting away, our inner nature is being renewed every single day. It is being renewed in God every day. But are we paying attention to it, Paul asks? For this slight momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. The part of faith that seems unbelievable, the part of God that seems unbelievable, the part where the camera is zoomed out suddenly and zooms in because we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. It is in the moments of silence. It is in the moments of self-reflection. It is in the moments spent with God in prayer, spent with God in worship, spent with God in study, spent with God in fellowship, that we begin to see the unseen. We begin to see the man at the chess table for who he is, a delightful child of God. We begin to see ourselves as people created in the image of God, in all sizes, shapes, colors, and ages. We begin to see God working in our lives and the lives around us. Even the world is telling us to do something else. It stops us and starts to ask, what's that boo-boo on your arm? It is in these moments that we begin to see through the lens of God, the framework that calls us out of our comfort zone to reach out to someone who may not be like us, to reach out and listen with ears to someone who may not speak like us, to reach out to someone who may not agree with us, to reach out to someone who may not look like us. God's game is more beautiful and intricate than Jerry's light-hearted chess game because it includes all of us, whether we like it or not. God's game is more visionary than the best chess master in the world, because it gathers us in whether we are able to touch the hand of God in this particular moment or are struggling to understand what that even means, and yet we are here trying to see anyways. What is seen and what is unseen? Perhaps we are beginning to see the kingdom here and now, and definitely it has been here all along, friends. Are we willing to see it? Or does the camera need to pan out once again to remind you of God's glory once again, whether we want to see it or not? Amen. Friends, at this time, I ask you to stand up and use the affirmation of faith from the Apostles' Creed.